modern women and their daddy issues. Not all modern women have daddy issues, but it is a large percentage of these modern women that actually does have daddy issues. And this is what's wrong, with a lot of these women when it comes down to dealing with men. Most of these women that have daddy issues, they can't, it seems like it's so hard to keep a man. It's so difficult to stay with a man because they're not used to having that male figure in the household. They don't know how to, a lot of times these women, they don't know how to talk to men. They lack the basic respect when it comes down to dealing with a man. They want to control the modern man. A lot of these women, these modern women with daddy issues, they want to be in control, but they don't understand that that's not their role. They don't understand that because they grew up in a household where there was no father in the household. So they seeing their mother being in control. And, what I mean by that is they think that that's how it's supposed to be. That's complete normalcy. That's a normality, that a woman is supposed to be in control. And that's not true. These modern women with these daddy issues, this is why they think that men owe them so much. And they think that they don't owe a man anything except, letting him smash. That's it. Casual sex. But first, he must pay for something first in order to get that. This is how the modern women think with daddy issues. This is how they think. They're very narcissistic. These modern women with daddy issues, a lot of them, they don't really like sharing. They just want to make a demand based off of what they want from a man, but they don't want to talk about what they have to offer a man. They just want to hear, all these different, things about what a man is going to give them so that man can reveal their fantasy. Because a lot of these modern women that have daddy issues, they live in this fantasy world. They do. In that fantasy world, that fantasy mindset, psychologically that they have, that they think that's how life is going to be or how it's supposed to be. But it's not like that. Life is not like that. Life is ups and downs. You're going to be able to get some things that you want, and sometimes you're going to lack some things that you actually need, but you're going to have to work. And these modern women that have these daddy issues, a lot of them think that, they don't have to do nothing, except, try to entice a man with their body and try to manipulate a man, with their body and play games with men to try to get men to supply their narcissism. That they think this is fun. They enjoy that. They enjoy, the mindset of being a manipulator. They enjoy the modern man chasing them. A lot of these women with daddy issues, these modern women. A lot of these modern women that have daddy issues, they're very childish in the mind. Very, very childish in the mind. They never mature until they reach, the age, 50 or 60. The modern woman with daddy issues, because they've been raised by just a woman, and a lot of women, they carry themselves like a child mentally, and they don't have that mature man in their life, that father figure in their life to, balance that out between when it's the time to play and when it's the time to get serious. You know what I'm saying? This is what, you're going to be dealing with when you're dealing with the modern woman with daddy issues. The modern woman with daddy issues, she's looking for a father during dating and being in a relationship with a man. She's looking for a father. She wants you to be her father in that relationship and during dating. Even, during dating, these modern women with daddy issues, they think that you're supposed to, put a ring on their finger. Even during dating. And take them out on these lavish, dates and pay for vacations and do all this different stuff. Nah, you do that for, your wife. That's a modern woman that's wifey material. But they expect that, at a lower level. When y'all just dating, they expect this. The modern woman with daddy issues. They're just extremely selfish. Extremely self-centered. She doesn't care if she flakes on a man. And she promised him that, she's going to be available during that day when it's time for them to go on a date. She don't care if she call off or flake or use an excuse or lie or try to manipulate. She don't care if she does that. She doesn't care if she, try to use manipulation to break a man down mentally. She doesn't care if she tries to psychologically abuse a man. She doesn't care about that. She just care about whatever she has to do to get what she wants out of that man. She will do that. She in her mind, she think that is right because she's getting her way in life. She's getting men to supply her narcissism. But this is what you're dealing with. What you're dealing with when you're dealing with the woman with, the modern women with daddy issues. The modern woman, in their daddy issues, these women, they're damaged. They've been neglected by their father. And they don't want to go to a counselor. They don't want to get therapy for it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to release the anger. They got so much anger bottled up inside of them. Having anger bottled up inside of you is like drinking poison and waiting on someone else to die. Guys, these modern women and their daddy issues, a lot of these women, they're not worth it. They hate accountability. These modern women and their daddy issues, they hate accountability. You call them out on their BS, you call them out, they throw a fit and say, oh, I don't care. They throw a fit when they wrong. They act like a child when you catch them doing wrong. They don't want to correct their toxicity. They don't want to correct their wrongdoings. They just want to act like a child. And they want a man to baby them through life. And a lot of these women, these modern women and their daddy issues, a lot of these women, they are very, very lazy. Very, very lazy. A lot of them. Not all of them, but a lot of them. They don't want to work. So they try to manipulate and play mental games with men just to get what they want out of men, whether it's attention, your validation, a free trip, a free meal, anything. They will try to do anything, they'll try to use any manipulation tactics just to reel you in, to reel modern men in, to get them to supply their narcissism. These modern women with daddy issues, guys, a lot of them, they're just not worth the headache. They're not worth the stress that they're going to bring into your life. They want you to do everything. They want you to take care of them, take care of the house, take care of everything. They want to put all their accountabilities on you. Why the only thing they have to offer is their body and manipulation. Guys, be aware of these modern women and their daddy issues. Because these modern women with daddy issues, they need to do some soul searching. They need to change. And the majority of them are not willing to do that. They're not. They love being toxic. They love playing games. They love manipulating. They love being selfish. They love lacking accountability. They love being lazy. I hope you guys got something out of this video. Modern women and their daddy issues, they're just not worth it. They're pretty much, pump and dump material. Because they will do anything, just to get money out of a man. And another thing with modern women and their daddy issues, their intentions towards men when it comes down to relationship base, it's all about the money. It's just all about the money and the lifestyle and the materials. That's what it's all about. Modern women and their daddy issues, these type of women, they will sleep with you specifically because of what you spend. This is what they do. You don't spend anything, they won't sleep with you. They're more like, they're more like escorts. That's what they are. They pretty much are escorts. It's all about selling their bodies, which is a form of selling their souls just to get what they want.